Dave Attell, who I had not met before. So it was fun to spend some time talking to him. I think he's a brilliant comic. I think his latest special, Hot Cross Buns, is something I'd highly recommend. He's an incredible joke writer. And, just getting to know how self-deprecating he is about himself and how humble he is about himself. We tried to kind of prop him up a little bit. Yeah. But he's super smart and funny, David.
Yeah, we give him actual awards he's won and things he's done, and he doesn't. Yeah. He disregards them. But yeah, I've always heard positive about Attell. We overlapped a little bit on Saturday Night Live because he was a writer. He came in to write, I think, around Sarah Silverman year and Jay Moore, he said. But got into that grind. He's a comedian guy. He's always been someone that really loves that more than being a performer as far as sitcoms or whatever. That wasn't his lofty goal. Loved old comics like Mitch Hedberg, Bill Hicks. So he talks about that. He talks about how long a special would be, how to name a special. We got into a lot of interesting things, and a very, very nice guy.
Yes. He's as far as stand-ups, and if you talk to stand-ups, they'll always mention Attell. Because Dave Chappelle, 2 days, but they'll always mention Attell as one of the greats. And I think he truly is. He's so unassuming about it and vulnerable, actually. But yeah, Comedy Central kind of was a big part of his career. That's very interesting. And his time on SNL and the way he thinks going forward in his career. So I would just keep driving if you're driving, or if you're shopping, or if you're gardening, just keep doing what you're doing and press play.
Yeah, I'd say if you're in the supermarket listening in your earphones, pull the cart over in the produce section and just listen. Don't get unfocused by cantaloupes or anything. Just
stop. If you're squeezing some French bread and going, is this stale? Right at that moment, press play.
Squeezing French bread and going, I just broke my finger. This one's too hard.
When did this get into the store?
Okay, here he is. Attell.
Hey, can you hear me?
Even worse, I can see you.
At least recognize my presence. Guys, hello, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Dana, I just saw Mr. Attell. We'll talk about his special in a minute, but I just saw him at Kill Tony. He's the wrong guy to do it with. He's too funny. They should have thrown me some sucker,
Yeah, what happened there? Because people told me that you just didn't talk.
Who, me?
What was with Spade at Kill Tony? That's what I got from my people.
Not even a welcome to the show? Just jump right in?
Oh, for you? There's no welcome here. We get right to the gossip.
Kind of like it's always going, like eternal.
We'll do a 20-minute interview where we'll just talk and
oh yeah, we do an intro after you leave, so it's like coming
and then
up.
It's like our guest coming up. So yeah,
I get it. As we used to call it, ass first. I get it.
How do you not have a podcast, or you don't want one?
I don't have a podcast. That's why I'm excited. You guys look a little jaded, but it was fun doing Kill Tony with Dave. I've always been a fan of Dave, and I'm just going to say it. I think he classed up the show.
Yeah,
he put a fresh paint on it. I thought it was really great that he was a part of it.
Yeah, we definitely had fun. I had fun with it. It was the hard part for me was, first of all, if I didn't talk a lot, that's not really my thing, is to rip into people and tell them, crush their dreams. They're here to do 1 minute of stand-up. It's a definitely funny process. Kill Tony, Brian, his buddy, get out there. There's a band behind him if you don't know. And then the most of Austin comes up to try to get on stage. It's literally most of the town. And they all have a minute to do their shit. And then Tony interviews them. And then we chirp in with our bullshit. But they know what they're doing. It's a very smooth running operation. And
let me ask you guys, because I've only seen it once, and there was this Robin Williamsy young guy who was actually kind of great. This is cool. What is the core reason it's so successful, besides the reality show aspect? Because I saw one where two guys went at each other, like really trying to dominate each other, two comedians, and it was like sort of a turf war. So is that part of the magic of it. It's fun to see people truly angry and kind of humiliated sometimes, and also get laughs.
It's a train wreck, and I think everybody loves to watch I think everybody loves to watch the drama of it. And I think Dave is right. I mean, like, it is the biggest thing. I mean, like, you can't even God help you if you need an operation that night, because I don't think you're going to be able to get one. I mean, everybody's there.
The ambulance drivers are all there trying to get on.
Everybody, it's like the town shuts down. Like,
I see.
Everybody, it's Kill Tony night. That's what we do.
Yeah. So what happened is I sat there, and Attell is perfect for the situation because he just can say anything funny about anything. And Kill Tony runs the show. So I sit there as a class act and wait for my time to jump in. I wait till I've got a little bit of a joke. But I was happy with it. I thought it was fun. I wasn't super comfortable because I had a fucking F5 tornado in front of me blowing a fan in my face. I don't know why there was a Arctic.
Why do they always put you near air conditioning?
I don't know, and I'm such a pussy. It's unbelievable. Is the word not gotten out yet? I'm like, so I put on my shades, honestly, because it was so blowing so hard in my face. So this is a new move. Put your shades on. Then I put my hat on. Then I put my coat on. And Attell was starting to get worried, like, what's next? So then we watch, but he smokes and Tony smokes, which smoking doesn't really bother me as much because I grew up, my mom smoked and every girl I knew smoked. And so I don't care. It was really the coldness. And then I thought it was fun. Like, people would do a minute. I think that's part of the appeal, Dana. They do a minute and it's either fucking dead silence. And one guy said, how long have you been doing comedy? And he goes, 13 years. I go, I would have taken the under on that because he fucking, I thought it was one day. And I'm like, oh, so, that's the only meanness I can do to them. Everyone thinks I'm a real mean.
Does everybody pad the audience? It seems like you get your college buddies drunk and then you go do your minute, right? Or is there a lot of that going on? I would.
None of these people have friends. They're all lone wolves. And
insults.
It was emotionally cold in there. There was no love in the room. And I think he was the ringmaster. He enjoys this kind of like pulling the strings, and he gets into their like real lives and everything like that. And I think we're of a different generation where it's like, you're supposed to be supportive to the new comics. Go, hey, you know what? It's a process. You keep doing it. You're going to get better. But Tony, of course, tough love. No, none of that. He goes right at them. And, I think at the end of the day, people get it, like this is kind of like, it's kind of like reverse support, in a way. Really
definitely something like that. Yeah.
Did you ever?
It was pretty fun though.
Did you ever do anything like that in San Francisco? There was a stand-up comedy competition, but you went through rounds.
That was a big deal. I
was in it in college in '77. Did you have any of that out where you were starting?
There was always weird, I guess it was always sponsored by somebody, something like that, where it's like, but I don't think it was anything like that scene. And I always, since this is really kind of our first real meeting, is that I always wanted to ask you about like that San Francisco back in the day, because, I knew Slate and I knew a lot of the big names that came out of San Francisco and like how important it was to like comedy, and especially stand up. And then it kind of like, by the time I got there, it was already like, I guess it wasn't as wild as it was back then. But really, like, I always heard all the stories about Robin coming down, and even to, the punchline, the original punchline, and then Cobb's, that's really the scene I knew. But you knew like the Purple Onion. What was the Onion place?
Ooh.
Onion, a little tiny room.
What was it called though? The Purple Onion or something?
Yeah, the Purple Onion. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I never played there.
And Cobb's moved. Did you ever play Cobb's before it moved?
Yes, I did. There was a fire, a mysterious fire, and then they had to move. Yeah.
Right. That was Larry Bubbles Brown, I think, was the arson on that one. No, he's
another unsung hero of comedy, Larry Bubbles, who every time I play Cobb's, I make sure he's on the show because I love him. He's great.
He's one of my best friends. He's an amazing human and extraordinarily funny, but he makes comedians funnier because he legitimately will, if you say something he thinks is funny, he'll laugh at it and then repeat it and keep laughing. And it's really sincere, because we used to have this running gag. We would show up, you drive to the gig and it's like a little theater, and the guy goes, "Hey, are you with the show?" And it's like, "We are the fucking show, motherfucker." And I said, "You jack him up against the wall, say, 'Listen, squirt.'" So to Larry Bubbles Brown, "Listen, squirt" was the funniest thing, and he kept
squirt,
and it went go for 10 years. But yeah, it was Slayton was amazing, really hard to follow. Michael Pritchard, Robin was always around, blowing the roof off. You're about to go on at the little club, and Robin's going to do a set. It'd be like 3 hours. Yeah, it was quite a scene. I don't know if Boston was sort of
we had Bobcat,
the East Coast
too.
version. Bobcat came through, and then Paula Poundstone from Boston, and they blew up in San Francisco.
Yeah,
San Francisco was definitely the place where people, I think, figured it out. And credit to you, Dana. I think you're one of the few guys that Larry Bubbles will get on a plane for. The guy hates to fly. I mean, look at him. He kind of looks like a Dust Bowl guy, like back of a jalopy, with his like piano or something tied up there. He's not a flyer. So
he's like somebody. It took one day to know him and 20 years to believe it. But I'm not a great flyer, but I've never walked a flight. There's times it's been thunderstorms and all that. I don't enjoy it. But so I'm meeting Larry, San Francisco, SFO, and he's there, and we're about to board, and Larry goes, I think I got to walk the flight. So immediately I was like, that's okay. We'll do it next time. I wasn't going to shit on. We'll do it next time. You just, it doesn't matter. We're playing Vegas. And then I said, well, maybe if you wanted, he doesn't drink at all, drinks Diet Coke, but he had, I guess, one drink, and he got on the plane, and then he's like, I don't think he ever drank after that, but it's like, this is great. This is the way you do it, So that helped him for that flight.
But Larry makes up for it with his incredible knowledge of everyone's birthday. He can tell you the day of your birthday, which is like
that looks good on the resume.
Ability. I don't know if that impresses the ladies, but that's what like, hey, what's your birthday? And then I'll say that was a Wednesday, or he'll know. So.
And his classic line, I went to the doctor, and I said, "What's that lump on my testicle?" He said, "That is your testicle, you idiot," or something like that.
That's his dick.
And then he does a no, but you can say to him, Tuesday, 1968, or March 31st, 1968. It was a Tuesday. It's like, what? And you look it up. But yeah, he's great.
He's a one of a kind.
So I'm just curious. I don't know. Yes. I'm always curious. When did you know? When did? Let's put it this way. When did people not want to follow you?
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. When I don't want any part of that fucking middle act. When was it like you have to close? How many years in?
To be honest, like the New York scene, it was very, back in the 90s, I guess, it was really, there was a lot of really hardcore acts here at that point, but I wouldn't put it against Boston, because I think Boston was definitely like another level of like, wow, these guys can blow it out. But I was a late night comic. That's where they put me. And I kind of like embraced it instead of like going like, I'm going to move up or anything like that. I felt like at the end of the show, like it was harder, but it was also freer to some degree, where like, if you could get anything out of them, it was really like, it was kind of like the pond had already been fished out, but whatever you thought was like a huge whale, so I was like, this is really good for me. But that was really them like putting me there, and then I kind of like got better at it. And then when I would move up in the show, and it really has helped me on the road too, which is like, following people and all that kind of stuff. I felt like I was stronger. I was a stronger act. And, usually that means just more bad habits, I knew what to do and how to work the crowd and everything. But in terms of like, I would say sometime in the 90s, when I became a headliner, I actually really, since this is an SNL kind of thing here, I'm kind of like what you would call the guy who didn't really, I know SNL is an experience, it's different for everybody, but for me, it was kind of like something I did when I really wanted to do stand up, and like agents and managers said this would be great, and like I auditioned, and more liked me, and I was a writer, I wasn't a performer, and I really wanted to learn how to do it, but I didn't really have that mindset yet. I really wanted to be a stand-up. I wanted to be Bill Hicks or Sam Kinison. But that's where I met Dave, who was really kind to me the whole way through. And I was also a fan of his before I had, been a part of it. I really liked his stand-up. I liked the way he did things. And, to be honest, I was like, it taught me more about show business than it did about comedy, because I saw how things work there in terms of like, there's a host. And then if you get something on, you get to sit closer to Lauren at the party. And then this person, there's like this kind of like levels and circles of like influence there. But I got to meet Mike Myers and, the late great Phil Hartman and, Sandler, who always another guy, very cool to me. I got to meet a lot of people who have gone on to great success, and I was glad to like know them, but it was never my thing. But I think for you guys, that's really like where, like things gel, like where you got to take all the stuff that you would learn, and put it in an ensemble, I guess format, which, I'm impressed by that. To this day, I really am impressed how people can take stuff and turn it into something, a sketch or a movie or something like that. So,
well,
I'm a club comic,
in a reverse way. It like I was, my stand-up was pretty goofy. It is now. When I look at jokesmiths or brilliant writing and people who can really take a topic like you do in this latest special, Hot Cross Buns, it's like a magic trick to me. Like, okay, there's the introduction, and then you're turning it, and it's like, oh wow, that's the best turn. That's the best payoff to that setup. And you're doing it over and over again. And for me, I was up there doing Chop and Broccoli and voices. I'm just trying to do sketches in clubs with hecklers and blenders. So when I finally got to do sketch, it was okay, that fit me. But you and David, are just great writers of material, just real material.
Well, I can't tell you how many, especially girls I know who would always bring up that chopping up the broccoli thing to me. They'd be like, "How do you got a joke like that?" I'm like, "I don't got anything." I
agree. I think it's ridiculous.
I can do that.
Who's got a joke? No one's got a joke like that.
You really like hit a nerve with these women. They love that bit. So, don't throw it out.
Well, it's since there is no joke other than a guy who's horrible and is utterly committed to how bad he is. But
that's on Dana's album called.
You're being humbled out because you are kind of in the I guess you could say the Mount Olympus of comedy. I mean, like people didn't really
Mount Olympus
too busy being successful to actually like do the kind of road that we do now. Like road is like a really it's never been better for everybody. I mean, like look at these amphitheaters and these things. I mean, it used to be like in the 70s, 80s, like you saw, like Martin or Dice or somebody like that doing that. But not everybody could do it. Now there's like at least 20, 30 people who are selling out these mega, venues. So, that's not my thing, but I think it's really good for comedy,
comedy's a big deal.
I love where you shot the special and the way it felt at Cobb's, the way it was lit and the tightness of the audience and stuff. I thought it really popped. Specials can sometimes lay there. I've been in a few myself and they don't quite happen. I think you were kind of saying you guys are really great tonight. I don't know if you were just celebrating the moment, but it seemed like that taping of you and doing that set was a 10 from what I could gather.
Which is a rarity.
Really connected. Or was it just, did you feel extra good? Because they don't always go that well, right? The tapings.
No, that's true. Because, the first show we had a lot of technical problems and the director of the special, Scott Gowlick, he's a really good friend of mine. He's done my road work one. And like, I met him during the, he was director of the Porn Awards, the AVN Awards, so I've known him for decades now. And like the one thing that you can't ever pay someone to do is be passionate. And this guy's so passionate. Like we edited for so long. Like we were just trying to put all of these different things that I had done together in like a cohesive thing. And the crowd, of course, was better than me. My crowd's really good. I'm not just saying that. Mm-hmm. Every comic I bring on the road, they're like, wow, your crowd gets it. They are really good. They're older. They're like couples who are like, basically like, this is our night out.
Aficionados. They know what they like.
Young, judgmental group that you see kind of today now, like dripping into these clubs. And they really kind of like understand sarcasm and like, it's a joke and it's not like I'm not preaching or anything like that. So they're up for anything. And the crowd that you saw there tonight, especially the second crowd, it blew me away because I'm in my head, like we all know for specials, like I got to do this and then this. And I don't want to mess it up like I did on the first show. Meanwhile, I should have just rolled with them the whole way through. It would have been a whole different special, but still, like, you're right. The energy was like, I was very lucky that night, you know? I was really lucky.
I did like that little, I don't remember if I've seen it before, but there was a camera on the side of the stage you don't see. And then you would kind of look to it like you were, like it was a friend or something, a person, you know? And I thought that was kind of nice.
This nose, I mean, look at it. I really didn't capture my best side there. But yeah, no, I love that. I'm used to, like, you know, whatever it is, I'm trying to work it into the show. I think we all agree, like, those are the most memorable moments. Like, Dave's really good at that. Like, I've seen him, like, you know, something happens in the room where there's somebody in the room and he'll, like, you know, like, be able to like tailor a joke to them or like use it as part of a riff or something like that. I love that stuff. I think that's what makes stand-up better than, you know, pretty much juggling. I mean, you never see that in juggling, you know?
Well, you know, Dana, what I do that's interesting.
Let's talk about, and what is the name of Hot Cross Buns is a good name because you don't
here's
it.
Dana's name is Blenders and Hecklers. That's a good name, actually. Hecklers and Blenders, like that. Yeah.
That's what you're thinking for your name of your special.
That's what I'm thinking for the next Dana one.
Mine?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hecklers and Blenders, because you said when I was doing it, I was just doing all hecklers and blenders.
Starting out.
Yeah, blenders and hecklers is better, yeah. I like that.
The other thing that I loved about respect, I'll just say it, the 35-minute thing or 37 minutes, it's like, I think that we've adapted to sending people stuff. And just this short attention span thing, it felt like the perfect length to me. I'm not just saying, it's like, that was just great.
Right.
Because then there's no low. Everyone knows if you do an hour, you can only kind of go to 40 and then they're too tired or whatever. And you got to fight through the trench.
Your closer.
And then you got to peak again. So 35, it's just like bam, 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 you know, playing the recorder, boom. And it was like, So
well,
did you have to fight for that? I mean, yeah.
No, I mean, like, I think the cool thing about Netflix is that they'll let it be any length at this point. Like, the idea, like you said, is like, it's all about attention span, but it has to be 40 minutes. And I told this to David that it has to be 40 minutes to get in their algorithm, to get into like their different kind of, like, I guess, placements. So 40 minutes is what it had to be. We had it at 35 and a half or something. And then they told us this the week of. And once again, Scott, my director, said, whoa, we're going to do it. So we put more stuff in. And actually, the last thing we put in, which is me playing the recorder, Seals, which we thought was a throwaway, became the talk of the special. So, like, how often does that happen? Like, it was like, wow, you know, like, whatever. I really lucked out on that one. But yeah, I would say 40 minutes for me personally, as a viewer and fan of comedy. Like, I just watched, you know, I've watched a lot of my friends' specials. Like, I just watched Jimmy Carr's special, really, really cool.
He's great.
Very funny guy, awesome, like with a line. I mean, the guy
how long?
Hysterical. Yeah.
His is the classic hour. And like, it works for him, you know, it's a great show. For me, my jokes are so small, like 3 a minute. Like, that's usually what it is, 2 to 3 a minute. It's like, I'm like on fumes by like 30. I'm really like, oh, okay. You know,
I'd rather go shorter too. I think Theo's was maybe 45, 50. I envy that. I would say the same thing. You don't need it because also then it's going to go out, then it's going to get chopped up, and then everyone wants to see different bits, and no one remembers the whole hour. No one remembers. There's a handful they repeat. You don't know which ones, and then an hour is so long, and I'm sure the algorithm says people last about 20. You feel like you want to front load your best shit now because not everyone's waiting for that big closer.
I think 16 is average last time I checked.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Is that it?
Best compliment I got, and I'm not really a web guy, but we had to track it for the whole special, is one guy said, I watched it to the end and I'm going to watch it again. Usually people watch 50 minutes and they immediately start judging, like, hey, this sucked or whatever.
Yeah, right.
What's this guy trying to do, you know, but like all the way to the end, that's a rarity, you know?
Okay, I got another name for your special, Dana. Algo Nation.
I was going to call it the other Oppenheimer. No?
I'm going to call yours White Sweater Man, David.
This isn't a sweater, but it's nice.
Oh, okay.
It's a golf pullover, but I appreciate it. It was going to come off earlier, and we had June gloom in April. But it's all gloomy, and then it's supposed to burn off. Sorry if I lose you with this weather lingo, Dave. But It burns off because in LA we have May Gray, stay close. Then we have June Gloom.
Yes.
Then what you don't know is July Fry. And what Dana doesn't know is Faugust.
Faugust.
So covers everything, yeah.
In Southern California, maybe at the beach.
Yeah.
I think it just rhymes. Okay, give me September.
I'm not there yet.
September rain? No.
Yeah.
I thought this was that Simon and Garfunkel tune, but not every podcast can handle the weather. Usually people are like, they're going to watch it later. You guys, I like how you dig in. You really believe they're going to watch this weather.
The main thing about podcasting, which you both know, is that everyone who's consuming this entertainment right now is doing something else actively. Yeah. They are gardening. They are walking somewhere. They're at the gym. So it's lo-fi. And they're driving predominantly. They're driving. So they're not even, they space out. But they say they want to hear us legitimately talking. So part of it being not always funny and just being real or kind of boring is actually good.
Dave, do you remember, was Sarah Silverman at your SNL when you were there?
Yeah, it was me, Sarah, and Jay Moore were the new people. Then there was a couple other ones too. I should have learned all the cast, but no, those three. And at Norm's memorial, who you were very funny, and let's face it, Kevin Nealon crushed that. He was that guy is like gifted. He's such a gifted guy.
He's brilliant, but someone has to do a bit about comedians going to funerals, and no one talks about the guy. It's always about who crushed. He's that
good.
But Nealon,
it's always who got like. And no matter how sad you are, did he kill? Did he kill?
But Nealon always kills in that kind of. He's got that his style.
He's a great comic too. He's another guy I was a fan of before I met him, and the whatchamacallit, at Norm's funeral, who Norm was the new guy that year too, and he went on to great success there. And he was really cool to me. Like I, brought him out to the clubs when, before he got so busy and everything. But for me, Jay and I, we shared a room, we shared an office then. And like, we were both kind of like, for Jay, especially like, who I thought had all the skill set, like he could do characters, he could do voices, all that kind of stuff. He was a good-looking guy, he's a good-looking guy and everything like that. Very funny. I saw the, like how hard it is, the new guy there. For me, I kind of already accepted my fate, but for him, like I was like, I can't, like
you've got a future.
Get on something, But I guess Farley was like another one that like I got to, meet him, the late great, and like no one ever like him, to this day, I've never met anybody that kind of comedic power, do you know what I'm saying? Like that like inner, like a battery, like I just say inner, like just like constantly funny. So, there was definitely a lot of great experiences, and most of the names we just talked about went on to great success. Sarah, and of course Norm. Still one of the best comics. I think his comedy's underrated. And Jim Downey, who I was talking to at the thing, another guy, like amazing guy. We were talking about like just how like just Norm, like the master of timing. I mean, like his comedy was that good. So,
well, as far as
master
his
of too
peers,
much timing.
As far as his peers, there's no way he's underrated. I don't know if the public at large, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, like
we all know, like, the Norm was also a singularity, like Farley, God rest her soul. But Norm's timing was so unique, the way he would jump. Yeah. The problem with OJ is like he kills people. I don't know. It's just kind of, besides the killing part, he's a great guy. Anyway, Norman's also just.
Well, Dave, at the funeral, which whatever it was a funeral, memorial, whatever. But with all these stand-ups there, people will speak in quotes, and it's really going to be a mixture of sad and there's no way no one's not doing jokes, even though it's horrible. The hard part for me was going up and you're getting a little misty and here comes a dolly shot. I was like, are we filming this? You know what I mean? You're rarely speaking from your heart and they're like, can we go again?
Wow.
So it was, you remember that? It was filmed and then we stayed after and
Conan was great on that too. Conan was always.
Oh yeah. Conan was fucking funny.
Yeah.
I fell on the way to the stage and then I told the guy on the side, I go, hey, this step right here is higher than the other steps. And I wiped down. He goes, he's a crew guy. He goes, oh yeah, it's always been like that. And everybody fucking falls. I go, well, maybe look into that. I don't know. You're going to get sued every single day of your life. So I fell, of course. And then afterwards, is that the one we stayed after? And then
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, please.
Homage to Dick Van Dyke. That's what I saw. I saw a guy do a classic Van Dyke.
Yes, you saw it right.
But I think
the classic ACL tear.
I think Danny knows what I'm talking about.
I do because I separated this shoulder doing the Dick Van Dyke stunt at SNL, playing Dan Quayle on Friday to pre-tape on little tiny carpet with no stunt quarter. Grade 3 separated shoulder. Still hurts.
Still hurts. Continue.
Well, let's get into it. What's the healthcare like? I never stayed long enough to get on their program. Is it good?
Oh, it's good.
It's good. So
Lauren goes, you're fine.
So you're okay. You're a stand-up coming up and stuff. And then from what I read, you got on Letterman first. And then they showed at the Lauren or Lauren saw it. So what was Letterman like to go on?
Live with Jay and Sarah at a club, I think it was stand-up in New York. And then everybody became a performer and I became a writer. And back then it was like, if you're ugly, you're a writer. So I was like, okay, I'm ugly. And then they threw me into the writer thing. And I'm up against these Harvard guys. And I was like, these guys really they're almost like I guess
like
built
RoboCop.
Like they're really good at it. And like Dave Mandel, and there was a couple other guys who were wow, it kind of blew you away how young and good they were at this. And to be honest, like when you're used to writing for your own voice and then you write something for somebody else and it's good, giving that up, man, it's really tough.
It's hard. Isn't it hard?
A couple of times where I'm like, I got nothing, but I'm going to use it for my, that kind of thing. I guess I didn't get the job,
Did you get on Update at all? Like, you didn't you?
No.
You didn't get a.
I don't think it was as loose as it is now, where like if you feel like you got something good, you could try it. But I really like, to be honest, like my writing experience there was what it was, and the guys who really I kind of think got me were like Jon Stewart. I wrote on both of his shows before The Daily Show, and I was a character on The Daily Show. So to this day, I'd say Jon was really the guy who got me. And it was great being a part of that show. But, at the end of the day, I think, you guys probably know it ebbs and flows over there. It's kind of like an animal. It has to keep moving, and the people that are parts of it, like they have years that are stronger than others. But, the other two people on this podcast, they're definitely made this thing that kids grew up watching, and they all want to be a part of it. I mean, like to this day, like there's kids out there right now, that's their goal. And, I know this is something you say at the end of the podcast and we're probably not there yet, but I was like,
no, it's over.
Like it.
Go ahead.
To finish the thought, it was just like, there was a point there where I was really depressed and I was like, I guess it's not for me, but like, Bill Hicks died. I think that was like a big deal. Like he died and I was kind of the only guy there who seemed to be really upset about it. And I was like, what? I mean, this guy, Bill, and like nobody really kind of got it, and I was like, well, I'm not really like connected. Like I'm not connected to them like I am to like the comedy world. So I kind of knew after that was like, that's what it is. So
just a little insert there. So I don't know. Did you ever play Spellbinders? I think it was in Houston. Anyway.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway, I just went down there a couple of times, early 80s, way before SNL. And then my opener was Bill Hicks. It's just like,
wow.
He was really young and he had a big sport coat. He come out and he obviously was great immediately. It was like, damn, this is my opener. But like 10 minutes in, he would take a beer out of his jacket. He would put a cold beer. It's like, it's a long way to go.
The whole time.
Our game was, I'm going to do the dice in the cockpit joke. So I was just, as my opener, he loved that I was trying to intentionally alienate the audience. I came here on Mexicana Airlines and the pilot had dice in the cockpit. But did you know Bill or work with him?
Met him twice, 3 times. And like, he gave me a great compliment one time. He gave me a tag on a joke and I was like smiling for like 2 days after that. But I didn't know him probably the way you did. But I will say one thing is that like, a lot of people consider him like the grandfather of alt comedy or woke comedy. But the fact your story says it right there. He was playing a dive club in Houston.
Yeah.
And like the guy could hold his own against anyone. He played through the South. He played through everywhere, anywhere you could go. And he did this all like when he was like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. And then he was like, you know what? There's more to this. And that opened his world. And like, you know, he became a deep thinker, and he's always was like a well-read dude and so like talented. I mean, like I remember one time we were at the original Improv in New York, and he was hanging out with some of us afterwards. And he's like, "Hey, is that a guitar?" And he immediately picked it up, and it was like Stevie Ray Vaughan came in the room. Like, he was that good, you know? But like the guy was always like searching and like trying to push it. And like when you see him on Letterman, I think you're not really getting the whole like feel of Bill Hicks. I mean, you got to see him live. And, you know, to this day, his last play at Caroline's, I didn't go that night. I really wish I did, but that was right before he basically said, "I'm too sick to perform and I'm going back home and I'm going to have to do that." And, you know, that was kind of the end of it. So I kind of missed out on like a, you know, something that would never, ever happen. You know, like it was like, whatever. It was dumb of me not to go that night. So anyway, but how cool was it when he was open for you? Like,
well, he wasn't Bill Hicks then, you know?
Yeah.
He was just,
Hickerman. Did he change his name?
I don't know.
Did you, Dana, could you tell he had something there?
Yes. And I liked him immediately. I could tell he was incredibly bright. And, but we were just playing this little goofy club, and he had something right off the bat. And then I saw I guess he had a special or something. I saw him a few years later, and yeah, he took it to this whole other idea. Mort Saul meets Sam Kinison, or I don't know. He went stepped outside the lines of a stand-up, but remained really funny, which is sort of the hat trick, you know.
When you were doing comedy, like in the 80s, especially, how much influence was like the show Seinfeld on you? Because it seems like everybody was like, you do this till you get the sitcom, and then you never have to do it again, right? I'm sure that came at you guys that way the whole time.
I was in that chasing the sitcom dream at the Improv, where Tim Allen got picked up, and then Roseanne, and it was both of those were huge shows, Home Improvement, and they're basically they were in the audience a lot because it wasn't about killing, which I didn't get. It was just, what persona can we write a show around? And I didn't get that at all. I was sweaty trying to fucking get laughs. But
no, dude, I always thought you were so, I just always like I really dug what you were doing. All right. I remember at the Tempe Improv, I think you were there one night, I walked in at the end, Dan Muir, who we both know, like he's like, "Hey, he's playing over there. You want to come to?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to check it out." And we watched him from the balcony, and it was just like so funny, just the way you were like, you know, like you basically had him. So, you know, you kind of playing with him a bit. So I love that. You know?
David doesn't, and I've been guilty of this many times, of pushing, and David never seems to push. And so it's very calm to watch just his brain working, you know. It's not like he's dancing for his dollar, his money.
I get the complaints I get sometimes in the road are like, "It didn't look like you were even trying." I'm like, "This is all the whole idea. Like, it's all thought out." And you just go, you're just like, and I go, I still talked for a straight fucking hour. Like, it's hard to do. Like, have a setup punchline, have this all weave into each other. But if it looks casual, that's a good idea. You don't need yada da 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 da. You know. Also, I was going to tell you, I didn't. Bill Hicks and Mitch Hedberg, I didn't really appreciate or get to know after, or get to know their work until it was too late. So I was never really. I remember they said Bill Hicks might have been on Conan when I was at SNL. I don't even know if I knew who he was. I just heard that and said, "Oh, that guy." I'd heard of a little bit, but later on, and even now, you see on TikTok or Instagram, you can see clips, and that's kind of nice because there's so many things I just didn't know. Especially Mitch Hedberg, I see on there a lot. But these guys are great guys that just floated around, and then it's just too early. Too fast.
Mitch, especially, I mean, this is like something I do know is that people always say, "All these young comics, they sound like you, like me." That's what they're saying. And I go, if you want to know the one guy who's been jacked the most, it's Mitch Hedberg. There's so many generations of comics who now like have like grown up, I guess, watching him, and just his voice, his cadence, and his style, like. I mean, I've seen it a million different ways. And I used to, like, in the beginning, be really angry. Like, that's Hedberg. You're doing Hedberg up there. You know, like, that's what the guy's doing. And that now I get it. It's just like, they don't really get that it's Hedberg anymore. They just like know that it's funny, I think. You know, I don't know. I'm trying to be generous to them. But I mean, that's really one of those things where it's like, Hedberg had a big impact on the generation of comedy.
I'm just putting this together a little bit. Theo Von and Hedberg, just not that he's ripping them off, but both have a quirky. Well, Mitch did have this quirky timing, and I don't know, was he from the South or any kind of accent? But he just had a really weird way of speaking, and
he was from Wisconsin, I guess, Minneapolis, and he moved south. And his joke was like he was driving and he had something wrong with the front end alignment, and he ended up there. Like he was trying to get to Texas, and the car kept veering left.
He was pulling to the right. Oh, I see.
Yeah, something like that. So that's how he got there. And like he worked in kitchens. He was just basically kind of like a stoner kitchen guy, and that's where he started doing comedy. But he definitely had that kind of like Southern, like, that kind of charm. And Theo also is like, because I always feel of him as like Cajun, like he has that cool, like there's just something there.
Yeah, it's cool. By the way, I just want to, you know that you're kind of a touchstone for stand-up, right? Like Attell, it's constant. For me, coming back from SNL and playing some clubs or playing with Larry, other people, you're constantly mentioned and referred to. You know that, right? I just want to, because I always assume that everybody, it's hard to know how people perceive you, but I'm just saying anecdotally, but Attell was there, and Attell, it just, I don't know. It's just, I hope it's nice to hear.
It's a good rep to have out there.
Be less excited about my success.
No, it just kind of angers me quietly, but I thought this wasn't going to be all about you, and it's sort of turning that way.
I mean, we can talk about the weather again. I mean,
oh my God, there's some monsoonal moisture I didn't mention earlier.
David's a great stand-up. Now back to the GOAT.
Yeah.
Listen.
I was also of that generation of like a lot of them passed too quickly. Hedberg, Greg Giraldo, who's another great line guy. Patrice. So I was of that kind of group, like that time in comedy. But I would say that the reason why people talk about me is because I'm out there, like I really, have been doing the club so long now. I mean, honestly, I don't even know like what the exit strategy is anymore. It's like part of the,
I don't think you have to have it.
Stand-up's a good biz to be in.
To your point, you'll see someone, and we're going to talk about Insomniac in a second, but you'll see someone at different times throughout their career. So then the latest thing, I don't pay attention to everyone all the time, was this special. And I go, oh, maybe that's his best special, or certainly haven't lost a step or anything. So why would you ever stop? I mean, I don't think there's been any slippage.
I don't know. Do you ever feel, I mean, this is like a good crew to ask. Is like, when I was first starting out, I felt like my writing and my performing were low. And then like, as I would keep going, like the writing would get better, but the performing still sucked. Then the performing for a year was better than the writing. And then it became this. So now I feel like they're both kind of equal. Like I kind of know what I'm doing, and I can write a joke, and I'm able to like turn whatever I want into a joke eventually. I mean, like we all know we fight that battle every day, but I'm like, this is a good spot to be in. I'm glad like, I'm able to do it and the crowd's still getting it, but like, am I relevant? Am I any of the things that are important in today's comedy world? No. So I'm also going like, hey, I'm not doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for my crowd, and I'm doing it for, what I want to do. But at the end of the day, you got to entertain, right? So like, at what point are you just kind of like, here comes that old hack, like,
no,
well, you seem like
that
all
was
your
me
topics,
saying that.
What is relevant today? Like, is it the topics, the style? I mean, it seemed like
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. It seems like your topics were all of today.
Well, that was also a post-pandemic special, which the two things that Netflix asked me, and I asked them questions because I go, is name of special important? That's why it was funny that you guys were bringing up these names, and they're like, because I don't want to call it hot cross buns. I want to call it, I want to call it something else. And they said, no, that's not that good. And then they said, what turns people off? You have all this data now. And they said, COVID jokes and political jokes. People don't want to hear any of that. So I'm like, I'm set. I don't have any of that stuff. And then I realized I got like a COVID joke, political joke in the first 5 minutes, even though they're well hidden jokes.
Well, I like your little turn on little political thing, and you go, I'm I'm a Biden guy.
Biden.
Hunter.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden. You know, but it's the way you jumped it.
One of my reps' favorite jokes. He's always telling me about
Love it.
Like, yeah, no, that's a good one. You know, but then it was like, that's a political joke. What do we do? Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shut it down.
We kept it in. Yeah. So, you know,
algo killer. Woo.
Yeah. So, you know, but relevant in terms of like, you know, am I going to preach to the people? I was never that guy. I was really kind of a, you know, a line guy, a joke guy. Yeah. I'm like, it's all about the jokes for me.
Well, Dave,
I think it's the same thing where it's like, even though you think it's a throwaway joke, some people like give it a life all its own, and you're like,
sure,
you're taking it too far. It's not that, you know.
Well, Dana, you know, he was just saying a good point. When we started, it was like sitcom and all that. There's a point, Nate Bargatze, Theo right now, where you could start as a stand-up, and it's actually less money to go into movies and TV. So they're making so much, or they're just on the road, that you don't have to do anything other than be a stand-up. And you just keep working. And Dave's been doing it a while, and he keeps making money. And if it keeps working, and he's got a crowd, he's got a good rep, and that works. I mean, it's hard to keep it going for a while, but these guys do great. So you could say, I don't want to stop and do a sitcom. I'm going to lose money, or that's so weird, because it's less of that in the world and less comedy movies out there in the world, and more stand-up gets bigger and bigger.
Stand-up is amazing. Both Nate Bargatze and Bert Kreischer kind of intimated to us that they felt like we were really in show business because they hadn't had a movie or a TV show. We're like, wait a minute, you're the master of your own fate, and you're making more than a sitcom star.
Well, you picked up two great names, because Nate and Bert, both ends of the spectrum, super funny guys. And both of them went through that process of developing all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, they're doing exactly what they should do. Their crowd loves it. And they're also really good dudes. They're great to the other comics. Fans, right? So they're doing everything right. But they also went through that endless loop of development. And I think it would be great, like cleansing, if like everybody, all the pitches that were ever pitched to you, like you could like basically whisper it on a rose and drop it in a well, like, you know, and I'm a father taking care of 6 refugees, and I run a laundromat, and just throw that, you know, like in the well, like that's done. That'll never be used again, you know?
Yeah.
So
ask him about this, because I'm going to ask him about something else I got.
Go ahead.
Mine is about your porn show.
Oh, the porn show.
Oh, great.
Dave's old porn.
And did you... Who are those favorite porn stars? But go ahead, say something first.
Those were the 70s iconic age of porn, you know, like, and you know, I knew them from the AVN Award. Like I had like started doing it then with you know, and we basically wanted the tribute to them, because we got like, I'm like the only idiot who bought the rights to use these films, because everybody would be like, why would you buy these rights? They're all like the mafia or something like that. So I bought the rights to these legendary films. And they're very dramatic, and they're like acting, and there's like car chases and all these weird things that you would never see on OnlyFans right now. So these guys and ladies, they kind of built, you know, the renaissance of porn. You know what I'm saying? So it was fun to have them watch their things. And then we bring out the adult stars, and they would also weigh in on it. And then there were comics that went on, like Rogan, Bill Burr, so many great names that were on this thing. Amy Schumer, you know, like just like all the people I knew, and like having them like kind of throw them like just like looking at it, Marin, all these different people, and you would have been great at it, dude. I love that. Yeah, porn guy. I don't think you're a porn guy, so you think you'd be able to? Like,
I like to just watch stuff and comment on it. That's funny.
Well, there you go, VH1 style.
Yeah, we could do Tracy Lords. Remember
Tracy
her?
Lords, of course. Yes, I mean there was so many names, and that was for Showtime, and I guess this was before you know, what was their big show over there? Yeah, no, it was those things. No, I'm trying to think. I'm not putting them.
It was the Christy Canyon had a sitcom over there for a while.
Well, what happened was, it's like me and my other guy, who's a great guy, Jeremy. He's the editor, and he was also the director of that. We like threw everything we had into it because we believed in it. You know, we covered all the dirty stuff with like interesting graphics, and like at the end of the day, I lost money doing a TV show. It was like one of those like too big to fail. Like it was just like, I don't know. I was just a star of a TV show. I'm $100,000 in the hole. How did that happen? You know,
I got the rights to Sika's catalog.
Yeah, it was like one of those things.
So I'm just curious about Insomniac, because
that I made money on, but I lost a kidney. So there you go. There's a lot of drinking.
You lost a kidney?
No, it was a lot of drinking. I really drank on the show, and
okay.
It was a travel show, and the people who helped me make that also just awesome people, being out all hours of the night for days and days at a time. And that was my idea. That was like what happens after the show. You go out, and I also wanted to do late night jobs. So everything that we kind of did on that show became its own entity on other shows. And people are like, do you feel that it's like, I don't care who's doing it, whatever. When I did it, I did it the best I could. This was before cell phones. It would never work now with all of the technology.
Well, you're the first one. That's good.
And to be honest, I think Anthony Bourdain did the ultimate travel show. Like, the guy found what it's really about. Food is universal. And I always felt like, this guy, people always like, hey, he's doing a travel. I was like, there's nothing like that show. That guy really, he found the thing, or that was his thing that, like, I mean, you can't top what he did. So I'm just one of many travel shows of the time. So
wow.
Well, that's Jeff Ross goes out a lot.
I belittle every.
Yeah, you're like, this is shitty. That was horrible.
Then that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really.
I think it was ahead of its time to put a comic in those situations, improvising and being real, authentic. It was like.
Well, let's talk about Comedy Central, because that was, like, I think, the heyday of Comedy Central. The Chappelle Show was killing it. To this day, I'd say probably the top, if not the top 5, the top 3 of great sketch shows. I mean, him and Neil, what they put together there. I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
And then my show was there. I felt like we were a utility show. Like, we were like, they would always go like, okay, we need you to do this and this and this. I'm like, but it's snowing there. It's like, well, you got to do it, because it was an outdoor show most of the time. So it wasn't like we're always going to spring break. So it was really tough on us weather-wise. Sorry, guys. Also running a Bitcoin factory here. So anyway, yeah. So that was what that was. That was like the serious travel show. And I would do road after that. But here's the thing, you guys will love this. And I'm sorry if I'm babbling, because
this is good.
I get asked about the show all the time, but the real deal is that a lot of the people who watched it were like in high school who couldn't go out yet. So that I was always like, well, if this show is such a hit, how come the club isn't full? Or how come, like, this tour is not making money? And it turns out they weren't old enough yet to go to see a live show. So years later, they all caught up with me and then some. But back then I was like, I don't get it, man. I mean, where is everybody? Everybody's talking about it. I'm drinking with everybody. Like, what's going on here? And then it turned out they just weren't ready to, like, go to clubs yet. So that was it.
So Comedy Central, you had
all Captain, my credits now.
Captain Miserable, road work. I mean,
these are my specials.
Your specials, The Ugly American.
That's why I did that for Jon Stewart. That was my character.
Daily
and
Show.
Now, of course, that one is The Ugly American. I assume everybody considers us all ugly at this point, but back then it was a lot of fun because you could be inappropriate. You put John down. He always had a great sense of humor. So.
And then you and Jeff Ross are a cool pair. Bumping.
That was another one. That was another thing, and we wanted to get Dave on that for sure. Which, like, we did 3 episodes in New York at the Village Underground. And to be fair, bumping mics, that's Jeff's idea. We just started doing it for fun at the end of the shows. He would come into town, he'd go on stage, I'd bring him on stage, we'd go at each other. And like, he is the roast master. We all know that. So, it was great keeping up with Jeff and then like learning like how to work together. It's really difficult, as you know, like to have another voice on stage and how to like, back and forth. We got really good at it. We toured a bit on it. And the shows that we did, people still to this day come up and talk about that. So I would say Jeff is fearless. Everything I wanted to cut out of the thing, he kept in and people loved it. So he was right and he was wrong. And, I guess at the end of the day, I'm a coward because I'm like, oh, we're going to get blowback on this and that. And he's like, what are you nuts? I mean, come on, let's keep it in there. So I always give it up to Jeff. Like, I guess he could see through the trees, whereas I was like, we're heading into rocks. So
I think you did it one night and brought me up, and I sat there on the side with a mic with you guys. Is that possible?
I think so. Yeah. Do you remember where it was? Was it in New York or LA?
No. Is it possible? No, not Largo. I think It was
We've
somewhere
never
where
done it at Largo. We've never done it.
that was a trick, and you passed. No, maybe it was the Comedy Store. We've never done it there. Maybe it was.
Probably was the Comedy Store. So, but yeah, both of you would be awesome because let's face it, the crowd is not just a fan of us, but of comedy. So they were like,
right. They were great. And it's good if you're on the side because you guys talk and carry it. And then I just chirp in.
Yeah, no, I remember now. It was, we had a lot of really great, and it was all because of Jeff, because Jeff knows everybody. So we had the late, great Bob Saget, Gilbert, who we're both really good friends with. He did it. And then we had Bob Saget and Gilbert together, which was like kind of a Kong versus Godzilla moment. It was like an awesome.
Very similar.
These two go at it, of course. And what was the other? Bruce Willis was on it. I mean, like we had some really big names that came by, and that was all because of Jeff,
So far, nothing is because of you in your whole career.
Yeah, I like to think I'm just kind of like the I'm the ring around the bathtub. That's all I am.
Can I just ask you, what do you, you're going to tour all the time? Are you out now? Or how often are you going out? And do you have a new half hour? Next
yeah. What do you do with that?
That's great. I think we talked about it at the,
it's horrible.
Tony, it's like, he's already judged.
Because you need about 100 great jokes.
No, it's so tough to.
You need
to
100 jokes to do jokes. I do Chop Broccoli for 19 minutes. That's boom. I repeat one phrase over. But guys like you or Larry Bubbles Brown, it's like really good jokes every 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Hard to get a half hour.
I got about 15 minutes of okay, and then probably 30 of like, hey, I'm trying up here, But yeah, forgive the term, I shot my load on the last one. And like, I hadn't been in this situation in about 4 or 5 years where like, you got nothing. And I talked to the young comics like Sam Morrell, Mark Norman, these guys turn hours like now every like 14 months. They're like turning these hours. And I'm like,
very tough.
Yeah. And they also get it like, when you got nothing and then you're going back out there, like you really like, it's really a sad, like, it's like God's love. Where is it? Like you're really there alone. So,
or you tip the crowd and say, "Hey, working my new hour." Warning.
Have you ever gone up with notes then, like with a notepad, so they kind of know? Hey, I'm just. That's what I do. Like, hey, I don't know what's happening next, but I feel bad for the audience when I'm not.
I like when you do that because I think a lot of the crowd go like, "Oh, I'm getting to see the process."
Yeah, they do.
Realize, wow, I really kind of would like a more finished thing, because at the end of the day,
but you guys are getting this stuff that,
But it's a good trick.
Illicit.
It's a trick because they laugh hard. You're like, is this anything? Polished joke.
I just go, you're going to hate this bit, and then I'm going to tell it to you again and point out why and where you're going to hate it. So that always helps the bit because they go,
yeah, that's true.
You told us you're going to hate it. It's not too bad.
But the thing that I like is when I'll do the jokes that didn't make it, and that's the people are like, why didn't that get in there?
Always gets a better laugh. They're like, that's not that bad.
So what's the most money you've made in one single calendar year?
What?
Me? Is that what you take questions from the audience?
No, I was asking you. I'm really into celebrity net worth and stuff, but I'm just
okay.
You don't have to answer that.
The thing is, I'm making millions more than I actually am. But I'm on tour because my mom has round the clock care. She has dementia, which is very expensive. And, we wanted her to have another disease, which is less expensive.
Job, Dana.
But that's what she's going with. So
this is real. This is real stuff.
Yeah. So part of it is like, I'll never quit. I'm a road. The other part of me is like, I got these bills, I
can't quit.
So that's part of it. And like, the other thing is, I really wouldn't know what to do with myself if I wasn't out there. But I would say that, as long as I'm still, everything gets harder, but the actual show, like the flights, the hotels, all the food, all that kind of stuff, poor us, that's our lives. But it really does kind of grind down on you. But the shows for me, like, it's like, yeah, there's good ones, there's bad ones. But like, as long as I'm coming up with one new thing, then you're like, okay, I guess I'm still able to do this. So,
Yep. That is fun. Getting ideas is one of the fun things left in life. If you get a good idea.
So positive coming out of old Dave.
It's a good code to crack. If you can still come up with a bit and they just go, oh fuck, oh this is cool, oh, and then it works. And you're like, that gives you a little juice.
Everybody says that. Everybody, Bob Newhart would say that. You do your same old set, you try one joke out or bit, and if it works, you're just kind of like, oh, that was a great night. You know,
it's fun.
I got a new toy.
So you can still do it, yeah.
Yeah, but I go back to Chris Rock for what you were saying. It's like, it's a job. Like Lorne Michaels. What do you think of Lorne Michaels? I think he gave me a job. And so the fact is you're still in demand and people want to pay you money to go do your thing. So why stop?
Nice.
Well, are you enjoying it now that like, you know, you can just go out and, you know, like, I guess basically do whatever you feel like doing, you know, there's really no pressure now, like that you're able to just go out there and like enjoy it, you know, so many years it's either about like, you know, I got to do this because it might lead to this, all that kind of stuff. Like for you guys, especially like just go out and have fun with it. Right.
Yeah. It's just some days I wake up, I just want to get on Southwest today. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. I don't travel that much, but yeah, in the early days, it's painful to even think about the amount of stage fright I had and the amount of fear.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was terrified for years.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, during college days, and Robin Williams was there in the beginning, and then he went and got more committed, but he was always coming back. And it was so powerful and so explosive. It was just sort of like, oh shit.
It's hard to compete with.
I got unfollowable. Would you say, like at his heyday, like there's no way anyone can follow him, right?
No, because he always thought he apologized to me once, like he took something from me. I try to take your whole act. I mean, he came up with others did it. Talk about influence. He came up with this conceit of a Shakespearean actor that has no act, and they just pushed him out on stage. And then he learned how to do that. But that spontaneity and go and jump in the audience at the time, I remember Gary Shandling thinking, why am I even trying? Why
am I doing this? Why are we in the same business?
Tornado, but it did make you work harder. You're like, okay, that's the level of killing. Because in those days, you just wanted to just kill. And so Robin did sort of make you go, okay, I got to get better. So that was the good side of it.
But it seems like every laugh was a home run with him, or at least that's what, you know, you see when you look at those old tapes. Just like it was just crush. Like Jim Carrey, another guy, like crush. There had to be in the beginning, especially times where people were just kind of like he was ahead of the crowd. They didn't get him right, like immediately. Did they, or did they?
Sometimes Robin would come into the Holy City Zoo, the 60-seater in San Francisco in the late 70s. And, you know, he'd do 2 hours. And in those days, he was kind of drinking and stuff. And sometimes people would start to walk out after because he was just out there. But I think his rhythm, wherever his voice came from, he's from Detroit and Marin County. But this sort of like this voice was, and right now there's a man going, hello. And after a while, you're just seduced by it. I was on stage doing improv once, and he's going, right now there's a man going, whoa. And he didn't have a line. He still got a line. Yeah. But it
sounds like a joke.
The voice was so, and then he wouldn't really use the mic was also another thing. He'd stand away from the mic. Oh, hello. Ha, ha. And this sense that like he didn't know what was going to happen. And so it was he's one of those shooting stars.
Presence, Well, that's another thing. It's like, you know, it took me a little while to get comfortable, and it took me another while to like figure out what I'm doing. But there are people who are just gifted who like immediately, boom, they got it. That's who they are, and then they run towards it. You know, so like there's just like I mean, there's definitely a deep bench of guys and women who are just that good at it. You know, I don't know.
I don't know. You should watch your own special because
Dave's one of the best.
That special, I happily recommend it to our listeners. Just go on Netflix.
It means a lot coming from you guys, you know. And I hope this podcast is successful. I mean, eventually you'll get those stands that other podcasts have for the microphones instead of this morning radio kind of feel.
Fucking motherfucker.
I mean,
our parent company is in bankruptcy, so we're on a budget. I'm at a Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that's a set Dana's in front of.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Dave, thank you for coming on, buddy.
Hey, let's make a plan. If I'm ever that way, you guys please come on one of my shows, and I'd love to be a part of whatever you guys are doing.
I'd love to see you in person, Dave.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah,
David,
pleasure.
All right, bye,
pleasure.
Dave.
Hot Cross Buns, Netflix.
This has been a presentation of Odyssey. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all this stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss-Berman of Odyssey, Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman. Hey guys, it's Spadoodle. You can always go to davidspade.com to look at my tour dates because I bless a lot of cities in America with my hilarious stand-up act. Or you could not go to it and get on my enemy list. Up to you. So guys, we got David Byrne, a kind of a legendary dude in the music world, obviously with the Talking Heads and then solo stuff. It's interesting when Dana and I get to talk to a guy like this because he does have that wispy SNL connection because he was on with the Talking Heads in 1979, and then he went on solo in 89 and 2020. You have to be doing well to have that big of a gap in between. That means you're still churning it out. And it's still working. People are still buying it. And that's hard to do. Longevity. But you hear his name all the time and you still hear it about, Broadway and the things he does. He's such a smart dude. This was an interesting one because Dana and I were in a little over our heads, which is fine. But I have on my iPod or whatever old thing I have Burning Down the House. I have Wild Wild Life, which is a real toe tapper. And it's fun to talk to a guy like this. He's just very bright. The dude is a genius. He wore that big coat in that, I think, Same As It Ever Was video. And I wore a big coat in Father of the Year, which is a huge hit on Netflix. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. It was a hit. Look, check it out. Why does no one believe me? It was. Anyway, so we have that in common. Someone told me the other day we have being a Leo in common. And then they pitched me a show at breakfast. And I'm like, he goes, listen, I'm a good guy. Listen, we're both Leos. So I'm like, that's your wispy connection to me? First of all, I'm not a Leo. So our wispy connection is over. You're back to a total stranger. All right, anyway. Here's David Byrne, and we hope you like it, the juice?
When David Byrne comes on the Zoom,
Dana, that's the guy.
Here's this.
I'm on the Zoom.
Wait a minute. I'm nearsighted.
Hey, David.
Oh my
Okay.
God!
Yeah. I'm on the Zoom. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing incredible now that you're here.
Nice to meet virtually.
Yes. This is this your first Zoom today? Or
no, it's my second one today.
Really?
Good.
Already?
Did you have one with Lorne Michaels earlier? You'll find David and Dana. Well, we'll try to make this interesting. Here's my first question, David. This is just to kind of be a little pithy. Has anyone ever used your last name against you in an argument? You burned me, Byrne.
No, I don't think so. But there's been some, probably plenty of articles that
where they did
make puns, puns like that. Burning down the house, but with my name.
Oh, right.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was called Dana Car Keys in grade school, and it drove me nuts.
Why car keys?
Carvey, car keys. It didn't even make sense, but it brutalized me. I'm still wounded.
It's basic bullying. David, my name's David Spade. Nice to meet you. I first of all, I'm a little nervous because David has such a vast career, and it's almost too much. And it's almost like an intervention.
It is almost too much. I got exhausted.
He's doing too much.
It's too much.
Or not enough, but you've done so much. It's really kind of amazing. I want to ask you things you haven't been asked for, but what I observed when I was watching you in some of these videos is the way you move. So I think of you as a dancer first, and then singer, songwriter, filmmaker, and pretty much everything artistic. So was that conscious? Because it's kind of Polynesian to me. It's sort of slow, but it's very graceful.
Interesting.
And it's graceful, and it's inside the loop. You never are frenetic it's very interesting to watch. Anyway, am I the first person to ask you that, or maybe the 20th?
I have been asking, like, where does your dancing come from? I made a conscious.
Looks like you're falling.
You're
constantly tripping. That's what it looks like.
There it is. Yeah. Early on, I thought to myself, I don't want to dance move like other kind of rock and roll.
Mick Jagger or James Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, oh yeah. I mean, that's where the bar was set, kind of.
Yeah.
Those people and many others. And I just thought, well, there's no way I'm going to do that. And besides, they've kind of cornered that. But they do that, and they do it really well. So I have to find something that works for me. So I for a long time, I didn't do anything. And then gradually, little by little, I started kind of figuring out moves and things that kind of felt like they were coming from me and that they emerged from the music. And they didn't feel like they seemed like anything else that I'd seen out there. They seemed a little bit odd sometimes. But
it's charismatic because there's no overt effort, and it just seems to work. I was watching the Jimmy Fallon thing from your show. That's what humans do, and your little choreography with everyone, and how you go up and do the chorus, and you come back and you're barefoot. I don't know. It's very charismatic because it's ultimately asking us to go at you. You're not coming at us with a lot of energy. It's all just so relaxed, and you could do it till you're 90.
Pretty much, I'm hoping. And then, I tend to go for things that don't look like I've had a lot of dance training, which I haven't had. So they're the kind of thing that I hope that other people see it and go, oh, I could do that. I could be a dancer. If this guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to write that down. No, moving to the music. It's very charismatic. Yeah. So anyway, David, do you have a question? Not you, David Byrne, but you. You can ask us questions, though, of course.
Yes, I was a little nervous because he's very smart, and I'm very smart, and Dana might feel weird on this podcast.
I feel like a third wheel. I've got two giant brains in front of me.
But I've seen interviews with you, and you seem like very light on your feet, and that was my first kind of thing because I grew up. My brother is smarter than me, and he's very artistic. He eventually got into design. He started that Kate Spade handbag company with his wife, and you were his favorite band, and so I'd hear it, and I didn't quite grasp the coolness of it. I just always thought it was kind of surfacey. I like the songs. And then the older you get and you start to get in the words and what you're doing, there's so much going on there that it makes it even more layers and layers and layers. And so that was fun. And then when I saw that you were kind of fun and light on your feet, that was nice to see because sometimes you don't know what personality is behind all that when you're so smart like that. And it's great that it made it less nervous to talk to you.
Oh, well, good. I mean? Yeah. I'm glad it comes across that way. Yeah. I wouldn't want it to be like, oh, he thinks he's so smart and, all that
because
kind of thing.
I'm really smart and I'm a little prickly to deal with.
You're incredibly
smart. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
I keep throwing that in there, but no one even agrees.
I think you come off anti-pretense. There's no sense of like, well, look what I'm doing, or at all. It just feels, and I think for an artist, first time I'm going to use the word, playful, and childlike in some ways and loose. So I don't know. It's very interesting to watch.
Thank you. Yeah. I really enjoy it, and I hope the audiences can sense that I'm enjoying myself and having fun, and sometimes having a laugh with it.
Well, Dana, that he's got an Academy Award, a Grammy, a Tony, and a Golden Globe, so he's got an EGOG. But a lot of people are going for the EGOT.
He's
going. Wait,
no. So yeah,
go. Oh yeah, there's no E.
Yeah, there's no E. So not quite.
You've got a GOGOT. No, you don't have the E. You really need a vowel. You need something to keep this going. But Golden Globe is good. So what Emmy is Emmy on the future? Is this burning? Is this killing you that you don't have an Emmy? It's killing me that I don't have one.
That's all I think about now.
I'm in TV and I don't have one, and you might graze by it and win one, and I'm over here struggling every day in the salt mines.
Well,
no, I honestly, no, I don't think about it. But Yeah, I don't.
You got enough stuff. I have a Saturday Night Live question because this is sort of the idea how we tricked you into this, but we don't have to talk about only Saturday Night Live. When you go on, I always wondered with the music guests, and I never asked when I was there, do they tell you what songs to pick, or do you say, I want to do these and what order? Because you get 2 songs.
I remember early on, I seem to recall being very pushy about it. And saying,
oh, they were.
I was very pushy. I remember myself being very pushy and going, I want to do this. I want to do this. And I think at one point, I don't know if it was on Saturday Night Live or Letterman or some show where I said, I want you to shoot it in black and white.
Oh,
bold.
Yeah, I was really pushy, say, I want something that looks a little bit different, et cetera, et cetera. And So it was does it go back and forth with the record company where they say we'd like this one sort of out there to help this album or whatever back then?
Yeah, I kind of learned, you learn after a while, you got to give them the single or the song that's being promoted. And then for the second one, you can put in, you can be a little more artistic and show them kind of the breadth of kind of the range of what you're doing.
Yeah, of course. That's what I kind of remember. Is that the first one I usually knew. I remember when Pearl Jam was on, and that was sort of my era when I was there. And but I was never one to get music right away, like I told you with my brother. So I liked Pearl Jam by the time they came back, and I liked Nirvana by the time they came back. And so I go, "Are you going to do Alive?" And they go, "We did it last time." I go, "You did?" Oh. And so by that time I had loved it. So then I started to pay attention, but I'm always about a year back, like Europe. I
was introduced by Lorne Michaels because I was staying at his house in 1986 before I was on SNL, but I was cast on SNL, and I stayed for a month. And the Talking Heads played. I don't want to exaggerate. I'd say 12 hours a day throughout the house.
Wow.
You may find yourself. And I fell in love with it. I was aware of you guys, and I knew that it was new. It was a new, like your singing phrasing was like popped out to me, like Sinatra or something.
Yeah.
It's when did you first get that? Was that always there when you started your first band? That, I don't know how you describe your vocalization, but it's very you. There's no one else does it quite like that.
It was a little more yelpy at first.
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, it was a little more yelpy at first, and then gradually, I kind of listening to other singers on records and things. I thought, I can actually sing a melody if I have to, and I can do that, and that might be a way to get some things over. That
I thought the same thing, but it didn't work out.
Yes, I might be able to do that. I remember the last time we were on Saturday Night Live, which is probably
2020 with John Mulaney, right?
Wow.
Just before the pandemic, like weeks before. After we did the rehearsal, I got invited, or should I say called into the meeting with Lorne that the entire cast goes into. And I thought, this didn't happen before.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And he gave me some notes, singled me out and gave me some notes.
What do you remember them?
Wow.
I think he
probably a camera
something
moves.
About
it
was something. No, it was not about the moves. It was something about my vocal delivery. He felt it was a little too aggressive or something or other. There was some comment about adjusting my vocal delivery.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure exactly what he meant, but I thought, okay, I'll just keep that in mind. Whatever he means, I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah.
God, I can safely say I've never heard of that. I've never heard of Lorne giving notes to music, except, Sinead O'Connor telling her not to rip up the picture of the Pope, but it was a little late.
Yeah.
He goes, that's the stuff for rehearsal.
And
not
then
on
he
the
handed her
live
some
show.
Scotch tape and said, it goes back together just as easily it was ripped.
Maybe no one will notice.
But probably
a lot of people
Lorne
notice.
would give notes in, one word, basically. Like we're about to start a sketch and he would just say, it has to breathe. Just like that. Probably with you, it would be like, if you could bring it down a notch and let it come to you or something like that. Usually there's some wisdom in it, but I wouldn't give you notes. I wouldn't have the guts to say, David, when it comes to singing, but Lauren,
I like that. I like that you say black and white because you're like sort of a pre-Kanye where you're, these artistic minds come on there and it feels like it's a certain stamp. I know the look of where the music is. I know the coloring of the lighting every week. I know what it's going to look like. And it does take someone to walk in and say, what if we shoot it a little differently? Or what if we shot it over there? Or what if we shot it outside? Or what if we made it black and white? I like that because no one does that. They just come in, they do it and leave like you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. And I love that you're throwing things out though.
I didn't want it to have like the standard rock and roll lighting with the colored lights flashing and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, how can I easily avoid that? And so that was probably the idea there. But by the time we went in like 2020 or whenever, there was much more kind of a collaboration with the director and the lighting people and all. Everybody was super accommodating. Like, okay, we've seen what you're doing, so we'll try and do that.
Right. When I was there, it was only, Dana, do you agree? It was only for blocking. Like they would come in on probably Thursday before we would rehearse. We didn't even get to rehearse until Thursday night. The sketches. That's how late in the game, if people don't know that. So music comes in and they get like an hour or two, but they do their songs. It's really camera's going to get here. They just want to see the song just for cameras, but it was always the same lighting pretty much. I think later in the years they started to play with it a little bit, but I don't think there was a lot of thought. I do like when they play with it, and guys like you are great because, that's what you want. You want it different. You want it memorable.
Is it kind of interesting you, David, like David Byrne?
I never think you're talking to me. Don't worry.
Just
Go ahead.
That when you have a long career and then it becomes long and then you come back and you look great, you're at the top of your game. And do people, like in my little teeny world, I'll go to a little comedy club and I feel like I'm a museum piece. Like he's still here. I still recognize him and he's doing the church lady. Yeah. So there is this, people must respond to you in a different way, or just in a warm way, or there's something. It's like Lauren. There's something about seeing you again, and you look great, you move great, the songs are great, your voice is still there, perfect. So
voice is strong.
You can comment on that or not. I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's always a portion of the audience. They're kind of the original fans that are kind of my age or just a little bit younger, maybe, who have a kind of legacy sense of all that.
Their journey.
Yeah. That's part of their journey too. And that's kind of nice. They, I think they expect to see something different from me, which is a nice kind of opportunity for me. And of course, the younger audience that comes often has no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they expect they just picture one of their songs and they're going to do it exactly. That's the way I picture concerts. And when you come out, at least you come with that baggage of, which is baggage sounds negative, but they know that you are out of the box. And so anything's really possible when you're out there. So not to expect really anything.
Yeah. As long as you don't antagonize them or give them things, or do things that are just like, oh, I'm going to piss off the audience by indulging myself in, a half hour of just talking to you or
drum solo.
The drum solo, whatever. Yeah.
Well, I have a question about. Oh, go ahead, Dana.
Oh, I would just you've managed to just always surprise, and so I just want one lane of show business is money and how to do that. And you keep reinventing yourself all around a certain general theme, but it is always new. And so did you ever get a offer to sell out?
Yeah.
Like in the 80s, a commercial and just for millions of dollars or something like that? Or how have you managed to stay an artist again, all the way through, stay totally cool and manage the business side of it all?
Sell out? You mean like do
lemonade commercial or
lemonade commercials and things like there've been a few offers for
I've done commercials, I'll be honest,
and things like that. Yeah. And I'm of a generation where musicians kind of avoided that if they could.
Yes.
I realize that now it's actually encouraged. It's like if that's what you do to get your music to a larger audience, then you should do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, first of all, just in full disclosure, I've never said no to anything. Now, also, a lot of these musicians, it used to be, but Eddie Vedder, you remember that, I won't even do Ticketmaster. I won't do this. All these things that made sense at the time, which was actually hard to run a concert, I'm sure, back then. When you're saying, I can't sell out if I do this corporate, but corporations own the arena. It's just hard to avoid, I'm sure. So you can comment on that if you want, but it is.
Yeah, wow. I was really impressed at Eddie Vedder, and that they kind of decided we want to do this tour without Ticketmaster and whatever, because our fans are tired of paying all these extra costs that get added on, and all the scalping stuff that goes on with in these ticket sales things are complicit in this with the scalpers. And, they were trying to kind of do the right thing, but it's a really hard thing for them to do. And I admired them for giving it a try.
Yes, I did too. I thought, wow, I didn't. And then you look and you go, oh, Ticketmaster is kind of racking everyone. If you break it down, and then when you hear they're sort of in bed with the scalpers and StubHub or whatever, I don't know for sure, but you know how it is. And you go, so they buy some, they sell them right back, and they give them the first third of the ticket. It's just so weird, because you go, yeah, every time I turn around, 1 minute later, they're marked up to $800. You go, normal fans don't have a chance. And the artist wants the normal fans to be able to pay the real ticket price. That's bad enough, really. And then just get in there and have a good time. And they feel like they're part of it, being the bad guy, when they're not, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah. And now there's the whole thing of, I guess, what they call dynamic pricing, where
that doesn't sound good.
No.
No. Yeah. It's, they've done it on Broadway for a long time, but now they're kind of moving it into concerts where, with a big artist, like there was a big brouhaha about Bruce Springsteen tickets. Because if there's a high demand for kind of the prime seats for a show like that, they'll jack the prices up for those. Now, they might still keep some cheap seats in the back, but the ones up front will just go, they're kind of trying to beat the scalpers in a way. But that means that
$1,200.
The prices start going up into the scalper range, where it's over $1,000.
Wow.
And the fans are just going, that's not what was originally listed.
I know, that's not really the plan. Like, I don't really get that, because they're going to make the scalper money up front instead of the scalpers making.
They're saying that, yes, at least if we do that, the money goes to the artist. But it's still pretty tough. It's still pretty tough on the fans. Do you something that's maybe a little more unusual in my world? Do you both go into clubs, like you said, go into comedy clubs in different places and could try out new material that way, and kind of make a surprise appearance somewhere and go, okay, I got to try some stuff out, and the only way I know what works is to do it live? David
does it a lot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I have to because I'm kind of on a tour right now, and when people are paying and it's a bigger theater, you have to try. But I've always done that because it's always the only way to even keep going. So luckily in LA, there's the Improv and the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory. So you can go in anytime. I mean, they're nice enough to say, just come in whenever you drive by. You can go up and do whatever you want. And so you try it, and there's a lot of great comedians there. The only thing these days is some comics are having them put the phones in those zip bags, because you can't work on a new special if people are leaking it on YouTube the next morning or put it on their TikTok or whatever. And then all your jokes are out there. So it's not like building up for a special. Someone like Eddie Murphy, I would see having a real problem coming back to stand-up, because where do you practice where people aren't going to film you and leak everything? And if it's not that funny because you're really working it, they're going to see that and say, oh, he's not that good anymore. And you're like, well, this is how I used to do it in little clubs. And then the world sees it. But like a band, I don't know. There's that's the only way to do it.
Well, for me, and I want to ask you a question, music, David. I started in small clubs, and I didn't know I wasn't really a stand-up. I was a sketch player. So the small clubs allowed me to go, I'm going to be a character for 2 minutes. And then as I got on TV and stuff, I played bigger rooms, and I found it much more of heavy lifting for me unless there were screens. So I love the small clubs. And with comedy, it's always a surprise. So ideally, you vetted it in a small room. So when you go to the big room, you don't go da-da-da-da-da-da, and it didn't get a laugh. But did you, when you were in the 70s in those low ceiling clubs and your first band was just kicking in, there's some energy to that. But you've played all kinds. You have a show that you do occasionally. Only 16 audience members can come in at a time. That we'll get to that in a second. Your fascination with the brain and neuroplasticity and all that. But in terms of rooms, what's your favorite size room, or it's the room you're in, I guess? Broadway's pretty intimate in its own way.
Broadway is fairly intimate. I like that size room. You can still, it's big, but you can still get a sense of all the people.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like, as you probably do, I still feel like I'm speaking right to them and they're listening to me. And if there's a reaction, I can respond to their reaction. And sometimes I can, as you might do, if you get a laugh, you try and say something else that's going to put a laugh on top of the laugh. And
yes,
that kind of thing. But you can't like make that up at home. You can't like write that. You have to see how the audience reacts.
That's the best place to be, is in the moment, kind of like with us right now. And life is really about that, listening and being in the moment, certainly performing, never trying to force it. Don't anticipate it. All I think before I go out on stage, the last word I say to myself is have fun, because if I forget to have fun, it can unravel pretty quickly. If people are drunk or it's a shitty audience or I blew a joke, but always have fun. That helps me a lot. What do you say right before your show, David? David Byrne.
What do I say
right before ladies and gentlemen, American Utopia, David Byrne. Do you have any ritual or prayer, or just like take a deep breath or you just walk out? And
usually the band and I are kind of backstage, and we're all on like our mics and everything like that, so we can all talk to one another. But nobody else can hear us. And so there's a lot of joking around, like, okay, who's out there tonight?
Right. Just
people take a peek and go, oh, there's a really strange looking person in the front row, or there's a kid in the front row who's sleeping.
To lighten it up. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's, I do the same thing. I peek out in the front and try to go, is there anyone I want to mention or say anything? Because when you're live, you can sort of, I do one crowd work. I go out to the audience and I go, what are you guys having? Nachos? And they go, yep. And I go, oh, is it an anniversary or something? And then I go, that's my crowd work, folks. I get one laugh and then I move on.
The worst crowd work ever.
Yeah, because it looks like they really like it in stand-up and probably in music when you're doing something that they think is not the hand stamp show. So if you're in a crowd, obviously in music, you just mention the city, they get excited. You know what I mean? Even though you're reading it off the back of a mic stand. But if you just say, I saw the Eagles and they were like, on a dark Arizona highway, and everyone goes, whoa!
Anything local.
That's where we live.
Anything local.
Cool Scottsdale wind in my hair. And everyone's like, my friend lives in Scottsdale. And they go, warm smell of ASU Stadium. And everyone's like, all right, just sing the fucking song, dude.
Well, I always tell them what's the rival town. So if you're playing Fresno and I go,
oh yeah, that's a good one.
They go, we hate Modesto. Then I go out and I just say, Modesto sucks. And I've got them. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Or you go, that joke was funny. This guy from Modesto doesn't get it.
And then it's like, a running gag.
David, you can use any of them.
Okay.
Just take them with you. It's so funny. Oh, I have a question about your one of my favorite songs, Wildlife. The video, does it have a ton of cameos in it?
Yeah, it's meant to be like a karaoke night or something like that where people are jumping up and singing a line. It's kind of taken off on that, and the audience members are kind of dressing up like their favorite singers or whatever. Yeah.
It's a great one. And that one, was Buscemi in it, or am I crazy?
No, it was not Buscemi. It was a local guy in Dallas that looked like Buscemi.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Oh my God. I was about to say, who is in that thing? Because that was such a fun video. And Such a great song. I still crank it on my iPod. Is iPod something?
iPods.
I think that's what I have on my phone. Yeah, it's on my phone, but whatever. Believe me. And I'm one of these guys that I get those Apple songs and they're 99 cents or whatever. And so instead of joining something, I just go, well, I already have this. I don't want to learn anything new. And I realize I have 20,000 songs, so I've spent 20,000. It's the dumbest thing I could ever do, but I just keep doing it one by one, and they're just adding up. I'm like, I think this isn't smart, but love that. Take Me to the River has a great beginning. I'm going through your songs now, which is, I know you get bored by that, but it's great because I'm asking, so it's something different. Take Me to the River, Dana. You know that one? It's such a killer beginning.
Brilliant.
And the only thing you need in the middle when you go drop me in the water, you could have me up there and I'll go.
Ooh, that's his best sound effect.
So if I'm ever there, I'll jump up. And could have added that. It's everyone can't do it. And the as we've said before, the MTV generation growing up with me, the V was for the videos and it was for the music, and it wasn't 24 Hours of Ridiculousness, which is a show, which is actually really good. But they used to have more than one show on there and music videos. No one believes me. But that was a really fun time when you probably got a new song. It's probably kind of fun where they go, the next step literally is, what's your video? Is that kind of how it was?
Yeah. I really enjoyed making videos back then. You had a song, you thought, okay, this might be the single, and you could go out and do a video kind of cheaply, kind of more cheaply than you can do today, actually. And they'd run it. They were desperate for material.
Oh,
and then you were getting all their material for free from the record company. So if you could give them a video, they'd start running it within a week, which was just kind of amazing for us.
It's great. Well, yeah, you have a blank slate and you're kind of an artist. You are an artist. So that must be fun. You've got the song, which you already wrote. You made that. That was one breakthrough. And now a song is working. And then you go, oh, now I get one more crack at it. What is it? But the scary thing is, what's everyone going to remember forever? Because you sort of, at my age, I would just picture the video when I hear the song.
Exactly. So you had to be a little bit careful because that's what's going to be burned into people's minds.
Yes,
but,
for sure.
Yeah, we discovered that there were songs that in those days, songs that broke because of the video.
Oh yeah, they make it better.
The radio maybe wasn't really playing it that much, and then the video they'd play it over and over again, and then the radio would kind of be forced to play it.
Yeah, for sure, because it took on a new life.
And it did seem, obviously, going back a little bit, your art school roots, like John Lennon, seemed like it was a natural fit for you. Everything had an artistic bent, and for a second, just American Utopia, the album and the show, it would appear to me that would be as satisfying as anything you've done. This recent Broadway run, because the way you reinvented Broadway, I mean, you can speak to that. I mean, you reinvented it with that stage show by everyone being mobile. That's pretty brilliant. I mean, go ahead. Will you talk to that?
To me, starting way back with music videos, but being able to kind of do a stage show like that, it was kind of bringing together everything that got me excited, whether it was, the staging or the choreography or the lighting and all those things, where I could kind of bring it all together in one package. And the trick with Broadway, I think, was getting the sound to be like not Broadway sound. The sound mix on Broadway musicals tends to be of a certain type. And we thought, no, we want this to sound like a real concert. We need people to understand the words and all that, which is you can't always do at a music concert, but we need to do that. But yeah, that was a little bit of an uphill battle, but it worked.
Really inspiring for the percussion section. So you knew you wanted the drummers to move. So you needed, rather than the drummer behind the kit. So you had multiple drummers, almost like a marching band, moving about in choreography. It's just, how were you? Did you do every show, David? Were you starring in every show? I'd assume that who could substitute for you, but
I'm not going if he's not.
How did you pace yourself with that? I mean, it's something.
Is that a beating? I mean, I do 60 minutes of stand-up and I lay down in a hammock afterwards and people fan me.
I was packed in ice earlier today.
I was packed in ice.
I get packed in ice
in my tub at the Holiday
on a regular basis, but obviously you were having so much fun that keeps fatigue at bay. You were enjoying it.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. I paced myself. Yes.
Yeah.
I ran into Hugh Jackman at a dinner once. So before I did the show on Broadway, I reached out to him and said, I'm not used to doing, shows, whatever, 6 or 7 days a week or whatever it might be. Do you think I can do this? And do you have any advice for me? Because he's the only person I could think of who had done like a one-man show, singing the whole show on Broadway.
He's an athlete.
Yeah. And so I asked him, do you think I can do this? And he said, yeah, you can do, how's your voice? Yeah, my voice is fine. He said, don't go to parties after. Don't hang out with your friends in a bar after, because you will end up talking louder in a bar than you are singing on stage. And that's like doing a whole nother show.
Smart.
So he said, don't do that. Meet them for lunch the next day. Then he said, if you got 2 shows, don't take a nap in between the 2 shows, because that's your first inclination is, phew, got through that. Now I need to rest up before the next one. He said, no, because then your energy and stuff will just drop down to 0, and you got to build it all back up again for the next show. He said, you just got to, push through it, and then you'll be ready for the next one.
Could I possibly after this get the Hugh Jackman's
I need his
information, because he seems to really be good about advising.
I want my life coach to be.
Just whatever, HughJackman.com. But
he also sounds boring. After the show, lay down in a hyperbolic chamber until the next show. I'm like, well, how can I go out and get my kudos? I need some high fives.
I would have told you, pack yourself in ice before the first show, get repacked in between shows, and pack. So
repacked.
How did you come down then to go to sleep? Or do you have a scotch on the rocks? Do you meditate?
Yeah. I'd have a couple of glasses. I'd go home, have a couple of glasses of wine, and watch some TV show.
I call it brain candy, right? Just something that
brain candy. Nothing too heavy.
Yeah.
Nothing too emotional that would kind of make me dream weird dreams. Stuff like that.
Just the Saw movie franchise. I usually watch that to doze off.
Yes.
If you want to put on movies called Clean Slate or Opportunity Knocks, I guarantee you, David, you are out within 5 minutes. You're like, what the fuck? Give me a little Chardonnay. You may want to have a third glass of wine. Be careful about that. When you see an abomination, it starts to tip. There's 2 things I'm really interested in. One is your fascination with the brain. And I was curious what your thoughts are with the studies about psilocybin or ketamine in terms of helping with addiction and helping the brain. Because you've done a lot of stuff around the brain. You have that show where you come out with the brain, you talk about the brain. And so where are you at with that now? What's your thoughts?
With the brain?
What are you doing with the brain?
I haven't tried any of those therapies. I watched the Michael Pollan show about
psilocybin and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't done them?
I haven't done them, but I kind of watched the show. It was all about that. Treating those things as therapy. And all that stuff, LSD and everything, were used pretty successfully, it seems, for therapy until it was made illegal. Yeah, and then it was just like silence, no more research. You couldn't touch it. Yeah, everything, any kind of beneficial stuff that it did was all denied and shoved aside. And it was all this government propaganda about how you would have babies that would look like fish or whatever.
Yeah,
and. But now that's kind of people are kind of getting back into it and kind of treating it seriously as a therapeutic thing. And I've sort of thought, okay, probably have to monitor it really carefully, see how people respond. But for some things, like post-traumatic stress and things like that, it seems like it does help people.
I was told this, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to hear your response to this, is just that non-psychoactive psilocybin drops over time, daily, create bigger neural pathways. And the metaphor was told to me is that if you're stuck on a cycle of thinking that's negative or whatever, it's like a little river going down or a little stream going down a giant canyon. When you do these psilocybin drops over a period of time, your thoughts start to emancipate, and you're seeing a gush of water, a big giant whoosh of water going down, and it frees open that negative pattern. So anyway, thoughts, either of you guys?
I could definitely see that could be the case. That we do get stuck in our ways of thinking. If somebody's had a traumatic experience, they just kind of play that movie over and over again, and they need to kind of find a way out of it.
And people are non-trusting the pharmaceutical companies more and more. So they're trying, Eastern medicine. There's different things that everyone wants to try just to say, what if there's something from the earth? What if there's something that I just haven't tried that they don't seem to want me to try, but it might be great for me. And I know a lot of people doing Special K now and microdosing, and I really didn't know it was for real treatment other than just recreational, but they are
Special K is ketamine, right?
Ketamine, yeah.
Okay, Special K.
And, but you hear it's a horse tranquilizer, so you go, well, I mean, I can't even do ZQL. I can't even do a full teaspoon. So I go, I don't think I need that because a horse is bigger than me. The last horse I saw.
Ketamine is supposed to, you go on a pretty heavy trip, and I guess if it works for your brain, what I'm told is that you're able to get outside yourself, and you're able to laugh at yourself, and you have these revelations that last, even though you have a bit of nausea for a couple of days. And for 3 months, you're just freed from that locked negative thinking. So what are you, David Byrne? If you have the blues, you're feeling kind of down, do you go on a bike ride? Because you're a big bike guy. You're always on your bike.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I don't get the blues. I don't get depressed that often. I mean, we all do sometimes. Mm-hmm. But in general, I'm pretty upbeat. And if I'm going through a difficult period, I'll just kind of go, okay, just keep going.
Self-talk.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing you did that thing you did failed, or it looks like it's not going to happen, or
Could you possibly work that into a song like, I don't ever get the blues? It's a blues song about a guy who
I don't ever get the blues.
You might find yourself not getting the blues.
You might find yourself.
Sorry, I had to do that.
Same as it ever was.
I don't think people want to hear that. They don't want to hear I'm a super happy guy.
Yeah.
Blues
does better.
My life is great. And it's kind of like, well, fuck you.
My latest self-talk, David, both Davids, is I just say big life. Big life if you try a career, if you have children, if you have marriages, if you travel, if you buy things, if you make money, you can lose money. So big life, up and down. So you just accept it when problems come. This is big life, big problems. And, that's your own self-talk, right? To yourself.
Yes.
And that helps.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this because you seem so future all the time.
Ask him about that art stuff.
Well, the robots have arrived. They're here. They're studying us. They're manipulating us. They're making everybody angry, and they're doing all kinds of things. And now they're in art. They're writing the hook. They're all over music. You don't have to write the music. You don't have to sing the music. You point to guys with AIs on computers, and then they put it together in a lab. And now in art, in visual art, recently an AI drew a painting. They put in all this information, and it won first prize at this art show, and the real artists were really angry. So it just seems to me that since you're always future, are you going to incorporate with AI, or what are your thoughts about that?
Fight it.
Integrating with art. Sorry. It was
it's his favorite things, meeting together.
Okay.
No, to be honest, I haven't thought about doing that. And I remember reading about that, seeing the picture and thought, picture's kind of nice.
I saw it. Yeah.
It's not exactly what I would do, but okay, that's nothing wrong with that.
I blame the guy buying it. Because I blame the person who would buy that art or pay a lot of money for it, because you don't want to make a market for that.
Right.
And there is something about what art is about coming from someone. Is that the picture, Dana?
Well, it's just one I did recently. Could a robot make that?
No, that's good.
Yes, I sort of doubt it.
But
a 4-year-old could.
Someone was really bugging me. That's the person on top in the bubble, and I was on the bottom, and they were.
I love it. Yeah, Dana's got good art. That's real. I like.
No, it's just heartfelt. It's a cliche. I'm not the artist, but I do it for my own processing of thoughts. So,
but I doubt that a machine would do that. Yeah,
right. That's the greatest thing anyone's ever said. Do you mind if I? David Byrne said a machine could not do my. No, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I don't like it. I still think the human soul or the human brain can create stuff, and I think I was reading your exit essay after American Utopia, and you find out later, and it doesn't sound pretentious, but you find out later kind of what you were writing about commonly in your writing and in your art, that you're kind of doing it spontaneously from some place, and it may be not literal, and then a year later or whatever, you kind of figure out what it was. And I was interested, at the very end, you said American Utopia. It's not ironic.
Yes.
So,
which is kind of a surprise coming from me, because some of my material is ironic.
Yes.
But in this case, I thought, no. I want to really hold out some kind of, either visually or in the songs and in the way we present it, the whole attitude, what I say. I want to hold out some kind of hope that all the things that we wish we could be and what we could be as a country and all that they're not all entirely out of reach. That we do have possibility.
Well, for me, I just read history and then I feel better. Right when the pandemic hit, I read a book, The Splendid and the Vile. It was a brilliant book, but it was a new one about Churchill and the Blitz in London. And, it just helped calm me down, or read about the plague or the Middle Ages. And it gives you perspective. I've seen people on an iPhone with a latte going, is this the worst time to be alive? And there was no medicine until like maybe 50 years ago. You have a heart attack, they'd shake your hand and give you a baby aspirin. See you later. Now they can put all this stuff in you. So you're kind of on this wavelength, because you have this reason to be cheerful online thing. You're on this sort of happy, cheerful, if American Utopia means it's possible, that's very up message.
Yes,
and
yes.
Reasons to be cheerful. What are the reasons to be cheerful, David Byrne?
Well, wow. We report on a lot of stuff. I haven't done a lot of writing for them recently, but we have a group of writers. They look for places around the world where people have found solutions to, if some place in Italy where the sea was getting overfished, and they kind of the fish communities, the fishermen communities, they get together and then go, okay, we're going to manage this, because we know if we overfish this, we're all screwed. We don't. That's our livelihood. So we have to kind of manage it. And they kind of figure out a way to do that, a way to kind of look out for people who were kind of breaking the rules or whatever. And sure enough, the fish come back and their catch increases. And so they end up making more money than they did before. Happy ending.
Good news is not reported. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that stuff.
Yeah, we're biased towards bad news. We like to hear bad news, scary stuff.
It feeds part of our brain, right? Somehow.
Yeah, it's part of our brain. We like to be aware of what kind of lions and tigers are looming around the corner, as opposed to the nice stuff. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle, but this stuff is happening. I'm surprised at how much of it the writers are finding.
You're right. I mean, it's probably an old stand-up bit, but there's never a news flash. Breaking news, 200 million people are relatively happy in North America.
Yes.
It's always going to be death and pain. And I get it on. I'll go down the rabbit hole a little bit in the morning, and I go to myself, I said, I'm being hypnotized into darkness.
Yeah.
Because whatever is bad with the robot stirring it is going to be presented 10 times as bad. And, it's a trap to be unhappy your whole life. Because I know tribal people, we don't really talk politics here, but they're in both camps and they're both just so angry. And I'm like, what good is this doing right now? All this fury. But you're right. What part of the brain is that feeding? Is some primal part of our hypothalamus?
It seems like it is. It's some sort of primal part that obviously evolved for something really useful to us.
War.
To be aware that what's that moving in the jungle? What's that moving
fight
on
the
savannah?
Fight or flight? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather, if I run away, it might not be anything, but if I run away, I'm going to be all right. But if I stay and wait to find out, I might be dead. So better to run away. Better to be fearful and suspicious than to just kind of sit it out and go, well, let's wait and see what it is.
And it's a bioevolutionary, it's a Darwinian proposition, because the people didn't run away, didn't live long enough to have kids. So we're predisposed, all of us, to be a little kind of jumpy, because the ones who weren't are dead. So
exactly. Yeah, and the algorithms on all the stuff kind of feed on that, can feed on our propensity.
Yeah, COVID was a real boon for them, because it was like the first case got to America and they're like projecting 10 million dead. I go, well, someone just sneezed. That's it. One guy tested positive. We don't even know what's going on. They're like, no, right now you better, make funeral arrangements. I'm like, so it's like that where it's like a half truth, or there's a piece of a truth where they can run with it and they run hard with it and they don't run the other way. It's always could be worse, might get worse, probably worse, instead of like, hey, we might pull out of this. And that's a tough one to live with every day. And that was hard, especially during COVID, because nothing else is really happening in your life except bad news on the TV 24 hours a day. It's tough.
Yeah, you could just dig really deep into that. There's not much else to do.
Yeah.
When you're out, you're on tour.
Yes, David.
Are the audiences back?
They are, and they're excited, and it seems like they want to laugh, and they don't really want it super PC. They seem to appreciate that if you're a comedian, the ones that come out to the clubs that aren't on Twitter 24 hours a day complaining about it, there are some people that just say, just go do it. We'll decide if we like it or not, but give it to us. And if we don't like it, we'll boo. And that's part of the fun, or we'll not laugh. But as a comedian is sort of an art also. And you want to say whatever you want. And that's usually how it was working for a long, long time. And then people are being scared to get canceled and they don't want to say the wrong thing. So we don't want the world to turn into the 8, everyone's telling the same 8 jokes that are approved by America,
Exactly.
And that's what happens. You go, okay, I walked out and everyone was happy, and people go, it wasn't funny, but I didn't get mad, thank God. And you go, well, you got to sort of crack some eggs here. Yeah, you got to. I don't get mad. I never try to complain to comedians when they're not funny or they do something too far. I'm like, I would say they probably won't do that again, or they might tweak it, but it's not my place to tell them to complain about it and say, get off stage. It's stupid to me.
Yeah. And I've been to shows where somebody's done some stuff where I go, oh, I think they crossed a line, just across the line right there. But the rest of the show was really great. Right. And I remember I've been to some shows where I had to put my phone in the bag. Yeah. I have no problem with it, but
do you go to comedy shows, David, or music?
Every once in a while?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to see you sitting in the back one day. That'd be awesome.
I'd be nervous.
I'd bring up this podcast.
No, I'm there to laugh and have a good time.
I think to your original idea, David Byrne, was that yes, we've run into a little roadblock now with Ukraine and the economy, but there was a short period post-COVID where the Roaring 20s had it after the Spanish flu of the let's dance and get drunk, and just because this could go away. So I think there was a gusher of ticket sales initially to
and then it
artists.
Went away.
Well, now we're not having a roaring. We're having all this other stuff again right now. And COVID, who knew, as Dr. Fauci would say, who knew there was so many mutations?
Yeah,
I didn't know. I thought you'd be dancing in the street. But for me personally, being someone who does impressions as part of what I do, political comedy is the hottest oven of all. of balancing act, because you've got, there's tribal and stuff, but I try to do Biden and I do Trump, but it's a delicate dance. I mostly want to have my true North Star to be funny. But have you found that in any of your work now? You're doing art exhibits at the Pace Gallery, trees and things, which are awesome, on gigantic walls that are beautiful. So where are you on the political spectrum? Can you, who are you voting? No, don't go there.
No, but do you bring it into your, are you careful about anything when you're out there? Do you stay away from things?
Wow. When I was doing American Utopia, there was, I would do some talking stuff, sometimes about issues and things in between some of the songs. And a lot of those were kind of political, although I made a point never to endorse a politician or a particular party.
Right.
I tried to keep it bipartisan and to just talk about issues.
That's smart.
Like talk about getting people to vote. And can we talk about that? The challenge was, can you figure out a way to talk about that and it's funny?
Yeah, that's true. If it's funny, then it doesn't come off as a teacher,
or condescending.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I get some information across, but in a way that's funny? And sometimes that took a little bit of trial and error. Let's see where the laughs are and how people react to that. Yeah.
So you're kind of a comedian in a way when you're out there. You have a monologue section.
There's room for that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a comedian, but I'm learning some of the challenges that you all face.
People like a little levity, and when they're out having fun and they already like you, I mean, that's half the battle of being a comic. So they like you, they're there to see you. And in between songs, I think we asked McCartney, was that like it's a nervous thing he tries stuff. He goes, I'm going to say something here. And sometimes it turns into just part of the show, because if something works, he locks it in,
Exactly.
And that's great, because the shows are so big, it's like hard to mess around with it. But yeah, there is a little room. That must be fun. Or one night go, I'm going to say this at this part. And it's something to think about.
Yeah. Or something's happened in the news and you feel like you want to acknowledge, not pretend like it didn't happen, but not turn the whole show into being about that.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance. So what's David?
I have something, and we'll let him go in a second.
I only have like 500 questions, but that's for.
Oh no!
Well, I just researched you, and you kept doing so much stuff.
You can't stop. My computer goes, all right, give me a break.
The dingbat drawings, the tree drawings, the stuff during the pandemic. It's just it goes on and on artistically. You're ping ponging in all these different areas. It seems.
I'm very lucky, and I'm having a good time. I'm lucky that in a way people accept that I can try these different things.
Yeah,
they don't always work, but the people kind of allow me to try that stuff.
Well, you look 30 years old. I mean, it's like you have drive, and if you still have drive, that's really the whole trick. You still like it, and I'm scared one day when I'm writing jokes and scribbling stuff and going. And if it gets hard, I go, well, what if one day I don't want to do this? I don't have that in me anymore. And that's what you don't want. You always want to it's fun to still do that stuff. I just don't want that fun to go away. So I think it's nice that you still think of a germ of an idea and go, there's really no limits. It doesn't have to be this.
Yeah, because you could be out there now with just bald face, the Talking Heads review show. And just playing all your hits. You could, and people would pay a lot of money for that.
Of course, right up front.
Yeah, I've gotten offers for that. But at the same time, I know that you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy there.
It's a Faustian deal.
Is that part of the equation too now? Being happy?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. No, you're right, though. But a lot of people don't think that way. They think they get scared and they move it out of fear. I get it. I mean, of course it would make sense if you went out with that again. But there also is, you've got other things you want to do, and it seems more fun to do that.
I think you were yourself from the beginning, and you never fell into that trap. And I think it's done you well. It's probably why you look so young and fresh. And what do you get? I mean, how big a couch can you buy? You need 20 bicycles. I mean, there's a level to money where we all
exactly.
I love my health care, and I would wish it on everyone in the world. That's my most prized possession, but I don't live in a giant place. I have one car, one wife. So
He lives in a dump, David.
I just everything you own owns you back. And it's
true. I realized, at some point, okay, I got enough bicycles. My apartment's big enough. I'm fine. Yeah.
Well, that makes you rich in reverse,
Exactly. Yeah. That also gives me the opportunity to try things that might fail.
Yes. You don't have to make 400,000 net every month. I just put out a specific number in order to make ends
to cover everybody.
That's pretty big. That'd be crazy if someone had that much. No, I'm not there. No, but your expenses can creep up, and then you can become a slave to them. But I do think I'm so admiring and a little bit envious that you keep reinventing yourself and you never stay stagnant. With me, a lot of the characters I did on SNL, the audience would like to see them, and I push them out there to a point. And it is and also in comedy, you have to feed the beast. You can't come back to the same city the next year. You have to have a new hour. But I do think your path has been really fun to watch. I've been watching you a lot the last day and a half.
Yeah.
In my research.
Thank you.
And you're like, this guy's having fun. He's can't be cooler. I know that's not your quest, but
it's good to be cool, though.
Well, it just means you're following your true North Star. I don't know if you had a lot of therapy early on. I finally got into therapy at 60, a little bit too late, but it seems like you had a sense of yourself and a confidence early on.
I tried therapy for a while when I was having some relationship, marriage stuff, but other than that, I think my therapy is
Let's roll some video from that therapy session.
Going for a bicycle ride or whatever.
I think we've. Thank you, David, for bearing with us. I know this isn't a typical sort of interview thing, but you're a lot of fun to talk to.
It's been really a pleasure, David, and
thank you.
And you keep it up. If you happen to want to bring your Broadway show back, I would make my way to see it. I don't know if you're not the type to repeat, but the reviews on that, well, I'll just say they were off the charts. I mean, so I don't know if you have plans to bring it back, but if you don't do it for me is my only message. Don't mount.
I did this for Dana.
Dana wanted to see
me.
It is on HBO live streaming right now, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Right.
So that's available for everybody. Let's do housekeeping at the very end. David Byrne, he's got albums out. He's got art shows. He's at the Pace Gallery, Trees, and Pace Gallery in New York City. I'm gonna be there soon. I'm gonna check that out. He does Neuro Society. I can't. Anything you want to add?
No, that's good. That's good.
Fans can consume. All right. Well, good luck on your next podcast, David.
Thank you.
But this was.
I'm going to go buy some more bicycles.
Bye,
Take care, David.
Right. Great to meet you both.
Be well. Thank you.
Because he said you don't need more bicycles. This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcasts.
No joke, folks. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13. Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.